to two gentlemen who, instead of moaning and whinging about their declining health as they get a bit older and the years catch up with them, have turned their creaks, aches and pains into a positive. Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer are both friends, long-time friends on the Essex-Suffolk border. Martin was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer just over 2 years ago. Patrick has survived 2 heart attacks. But instead of cursing their luck, the pair now host a successful podcast, Who's Tom and Dick, which promotes having a positive attitude even when the world tries to bring you down. And both of them are with me now. Gents, good afternoon to both of you.
Good afternoon, Ben.
Hi. Okay, who wants to tell me what the podcast is about?
Well, I normally talk more than him.
Go on then.
But first of all, Patrick came up with the idea, and when I was laying in hospital for my 2-month period in Bury Hospital last year, and basically what we are doing is we're giving this positive mental attitude to people. Patrick always says people he went to hospital with, oh, I've got nothing to do, nothing. So we have something to do. We go out, we meet people, we have people off the street, and they come in and tell us all about their story. And we've had a lady with breast cancer the other day, didn't we? Yeah. We interviewed her, and then we went to My Wish, the charity in Bury St Edmunds, the hospital. So we interview lots of.
Yes, it's really changed to how we first started, hasn't it? Because we're getting guests from, we thought we'd interview guests who've got similar complaints to us, but we're getting celebrities and all sorts of people coming on the show now, and we're obviously delving into their health conditions and how they've dealt with their health conditions individually.
Setbacks, yeah. Martin, tell us about your condition, and do you know how long you've got left?
Years ago, I would have had 3 months to live, but Dr. Patterson at the Bury Hospital is fantastic, and he's given me this tablet called lorlatinib, and it's now more for years rather than it is for months, because the cancer has actually shriveled away in my lung. I've got 2 photographs. I've got one of the cancer going right across from top to bottom of my lung, and the second one, since last August it was, took all the cancer away. And his words were, it shriveled away.
So is it still? Will it still get the better of you in the end, or is it?
Of course, yeah. I'll never live forever, but then nobody will they? I mean, I'm 63 now. So, he said that he's had people live for 6-7 years down the line. So I said, well, I want to be 8-9, and talk about me.
Yeah. So, and you're the same, Patrick. 2 heart attacks?
2 heart attacks, yeah. One 15 years ago and one 5 years ago. And I've had 5 stents fitted into 5 different arteries around the heart to keep me going. But, what I found when I went to my rehabilitation classes is the majority of people there with me, all ages and sex, etc., were just so depressed. They'd almost given up on life. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, this isn't right. This should be a wake-up call. And that's how I've treated it.
Yeah.
So I've done several things that I, probably shouldn't have done since. And sometimes I ask myself if I'm taking my illness seriously. But with Martin's
he's actually doing the race for life in Bury St Edmunds for me.
For Cancer Research UK.
Yeah.
I've lost my train of thought now. Thanks,
sorry.
The statins
you were talking about exercise, you see.
The statins are kicked in.
Yeah, that is terrible. We both forget things. We might be talking on the interviews and then suddenly forget it. Like he's forgot now.
Yeah. So really, positive mental attitude is another drug, basically, that you can have for free. It's there. It's difficult if you haven't got it. But
is it tricky to wake up? You're not the guys you used to be. You're not as young and fit and as healthy as you used to be. You are. At one end of your life, is it tricky to be as positive? Because you mentioned a lot of people were depressed and all this. Is it tricky to be positive?
It is sometimes, but the biggest problem is if you don't fill your life with something, then you have time to sit around and think about it. And that's the problem. So I always try and fill my life with lots of things.
Yeah.
Get involved with lots of things and think positively.
Because this has taken over a big part of our life.
It has, yeah.
But I love doing it. I like researching it. You know, if we've got someone coming on with breast cancer, I will research breast cancer. If we've got someone, multiple sclerosis or whatever, we always read,
Yeah, and we've found out that the biggest negative about any illness is Google. Because people, I mean, Martin's guilty of this. As soon as he got his diagnosis, went home and Googled lung cancer. Now, great, but there's 18 different lung cancers. Mm-hmm. So unless you don't Google the right one, you're not going to get the right results. And of course, the worst one comes up every time.
Yeah, I looked at the one that said 3 months, which depressed us all completely, the whole family. But it was surprising what I got out of that. I got test match tickets. I got a box at Arsenal.
Steady on.
And he's still here. So
people bought me all these things.
Back.
When the test match, hang on, haven't you had these last year? And
I got to the front of the queue at the test match for it as well.
Why did you decide to use a podcast? Because then, you've obviously. You've spoken about your health, and why did you then try and channel this in a podcast? What was the thinking behind it?
Well, we were both entertainers. I mean, I've been a singer in a tribute band, and we was a double act in the 90s, going all around the holiday camps and all over the country. And we was actually asked at one time to be managed and go up to Blackpool. And
oh, really? What was your double act name?
Martin and Moore.
Martin and Moore.
So haven't you heard of us?
Will there be some people that have seen Martin and Moore listening?
Yes,
surely,
if they're still alive.
Yeah. Still alive. No,
well, we did do Eastbourne, and the average age of the audience was 80. I think.
I know. We've always had a rapport where we can talk, and like even just sitting in the reception there waiting to come on and all that. We can have a laugh together, and we've tried out this new thing for the podcast. Talking in the car while we're coming up with just a clip-on badges, and we didn't stop talking, did we?
Well, you didn't.
But obviously you were good at talking. You thought, well, let's. Well,
Martin,
but you
were pretty active in your singing career when you were suddenly struck down with this illness, which obviously put a stop to that.
Yeah.
And I could see that I went and visited Martin last August when he was at his all-time low. And everybody around him, apart from him, thought he was on his last legs at that stage. And I said to him, just, what are you going to do now then? And he sort of said, I don't know. I said, well, what about podcasts? Because men don't talk about their illnesses, so perhaps we can do a podcast together. Really, just to brighten him up.
Yeah,
didn't realise he was going to take it seriously. But so here we are. That's where it all stemmed from.
And what impacts it had on the people who listen? Because you're doing all right, aren't you? The ratings are good. You're getting people, grabbing listeners. A bit of attention.
Yeah. I never thought it was going to take off as quick. I mean, we've only 27, 28 podcasts down the line.
Yeah.
But I mean, the amount of people who have come on. And want to go. We've not had a celebrity yet that's turned us down. Who we're still waiting on some, admittedly. Yeah. But they come on, and members of the public have been brilliant. To tell us all about Louise, who came on. She won't mind me mentioning her name. She came on and she told us a whole life story, didn't she?
Yeah.
And you look at these people. My cousin Karen. And it's just fantastic. And other people can hear what they go through and think, well, perhaps they're not the only one, who goes through what, they go through. So that hopefully will help people.
But resonating with me because we talk about these issues on the programme all the time, and it definitely helps. It is good to talk. It is a cliche, but it is good to talk.
If you're sitting at home on your own, you think you're the only one.
Yeah.
And that's the worst time. If you're sitting, I mean, when I had to do my rehabilitation, I weren't allowed to do anything for 6 weeks, driving included. And, you've got a lot of time to think, and you think, well, how is this going to affect me, and what am I going to do? But since my first heart attack, I got my private pilot's licence. I got a professional race licence. So I was determined just to fill my life with things, that I shouldn't be able to, really, as a heart patient.
Yeah.
My dad died of heart disease in the 80s, early 80s, and they told him to do the exact opposite to what they're telling me to do. Don't stress yourself, don't walk too far. Now they're saying get out there, exercise, and they know more about it. And
fantastic. Yeah. Well, who have you had on then? You've name dropped. You've had celebs on. Who's taken part? Who's coming on?
Our very first celebrity, Joe Pasquale.
It started off last December, my New Year's resolution, when you make your resolution, it was to have a celebrity on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then, like Pat said, Joe Pasquale came on, and then we've had some footballers from Colchester United on.
Yeah.
That was more pleasing for me, I think.
Yeah.
Because
snooker world champion.
Yeah, we had snooker world champion Cliff Thorburn.
Okay.
He was on the podcast, and then we've got some other famous people lined up. We've got Cheryl Baker lined up, haven't we?
Yeah, from Bucks Fizz.
Bucks Fizz, and
Jimmy Tarbuck. He's booked in.
Yeah.
Jimmy Tarbuck's booked in, but.
And we've also got one very, very special guest. We're just waiting for a date. And he's a sir. So
we've got a letter back from him, and his agent has said, yes, we're going to book you in. So, but we can't really tell anyone else unless I said that he's a plonker.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
So tune into Who's Tom and Dick. That's who it is.
So Who's Tom and Dick podcast, and people can find that quite easily, can they?
On any podcast provider's site, Spotify and all those.
Alexa.
Yeah.
You can even go in it. If you say, Alexa, play Who's Tom and Dick podcast, it'll come up and they say...
well, don't do that yet, guys. All right, steady on. Listen to
Have you got one in here?
No.
He wants to put his listeners.
Oh, right, yeah. Except between the hours when Ben's on.
Martin Weavers, Patrick Mortimer, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for bringing in your pet as well.
Yeah, Benny's here under the table.
Another Benny's here. What breed is Benny?
He's a Bichon Frise, and he's been as good as gold.
He has, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Martin, Patrick and Benny...
if there's any panting, it wasn't Patrick, it was Benny.
Take care, won't you?
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us on, Ben.
All the best. Thank you.
Cheers.